Yeah, welcome to my channel. Um, yeah, so thinking about it now, or not thinking about it, but if you've seen the news, read the news, or hearing rumblings, a lot of these streaming services are now probably going to be starting to raise their prices, specifically Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, as well as most, of course, Netflix. You know, one of the biggest ones out there, and Amazon Prime won't, but sort of in a ways at the same time. Oh, sorry, but it's one of those things where, and well, Hulu Plus part is being part of Disney, so it doesn't matter there. But the thing is like remember, it's one of those things where they're not raising the prices on the premium just yet. The premium versus services where it's the the ad free ones. It's they're raising the prices on those with the ads basically. Like the Paramount Plus Basic or Essentials, similar to the Disney Plus Essentials Basic, whatever you want to call it, where you see ads. Because the thing is, really, what in reality, what you're doing is you're really paying for the content more than anything else. I mean, how's it any different from over the air stuff? It's not. If it would be over the air, they probably make more money. The thing is like everyone's realizing that you can make more money through content by these streaming services, like the way Netflix did. Basically, as they were pushing out more and more content, more and more people want to join Netflix. But now, as more and more their content is becoming a little bit more less interesting, you're seeing a lot of people leaving Netflix, similar to like Amazon Prime. They realize, hey, we need some more really good content. They're willing to pay a lot of money for the content, but then now realizing it's not that much, so it's driving down. You know, like they're driving. They're losing viewerships or losing subscribers. Same thing with, sorry, Disney Plus. At the initial going when they first started out, they had a lot of subscribers because of a lot of the Marvel movies, a lot of the Star Wars. But now, like their content isn't as great. Like to the point where like Willow, their streaming service Willow, it looks like they're just going to drop the second season. Basically, they're not even going to bother because it wasn't as popular. That's one of the other things as well is with these metrics, they know now how many people are actually viewing and like how long they can do it, etc. All that metrics that you can capture and everything like that. So they know like is it worthwhile for this content that they have to renew and keep going forward with it at that point. In reality, it's looking like it's not. So like sometimes people, you know, the streaming services decide to like just drop it at that point. Whereas before in the past, where when it was over the air TV as well as cable, you were using the Nielsen ratings. Uh, Now it's like Nielsen. I don't know if it's like really useful at this point. I mean, you still have over the air stuff like NBC, ABC, CBS, but over the air and Fox as well with over the air stuff or cable. Um, but that's more so because of the fact of people watching news, like CNN, as well as like broadcast content, as well as sports, specifically sports. I mean, honestly, that's the reason why I still have YouTube TV, specifically for the sports and the news aspect of things more than anything else. But now looking closely at it, um, I'm seeing that as the YouTube TV prices are going up, it's like it's almost no different from paying cable. Basically, the only difference is in this situation is I can have up to 6 devices, and each 6 devices or 6 users can record up to have an infinite amount of recordings basically, and that's one of the nice things about it. But at the same time, it's one of those things I'm realizing like, do I really need this anymore? Honestly, because nowadays with video on demand, you can just get it on video on demand, and two, I could just use cable at this point. Or do I need cable? Can I just get the stuff over the air basically? And that's what I'm looking at now. Is like maybe I should just use over the air stuff basically, like ABC, CBS, and NBC and Fox. I mean, most of that stuff I'm watching anyways. With the Fox network stuff, you could probably watch it on Hulu anyways, and like that's being covered sort of semi part through My American Express. Similarly with Peacock, American Express, and same thing with Paramount Plus, which is being covered through Walmart Plus, which is covered through my Amex. Um, it's one of the membership perks basically, with all the perks of covering these services basically. And then of course then if you're on T-Mobile or Verizon or maybe AT&T, one of those three will cover one of the services, whether it be Netflix, Apple Plus, Apple TV Plus, Netflix, or Disney Plus with Hulu Plus and ESPN Plus. That could be covered as well too if you're paying for that. Because realizing now, seeing what I'm seeing right now, um, it's a case where like it's going back to the point where like I'm paying just as much, if not more, than it was when I was a cable subscriber. I mean, you still got to pay for the internet. You still have to pay for the internet no matter what. The question is are you going to be tethering your phone if you're using the your phone service to tethering your phone to basically watch content as well too? But if you're tethering your phone, that means you got to pay for the data to a certain extent, and you got to make sure you're not using that much data. The problem is if you're not using Wi-Fi, then you're using their data, and then once you see it a certain goal, then they throttle you at that point. So, what's the purpose of that? If there was free Wi-Fi available, then yeah, I mean, I could just use that to connect to for my TV services at that point. Honestly, I could just use that, because nowadays a lot of this content can be relatively watched easily, like Roku TV. Um, I want to say Google TV itself. That's only if you have an Android device, but there's some free stuff on there at least as well too, and similar with Philo TV, etc. Basically, there's some of this stuff can be free, but of course it's not live stuff, but it's content that, depending on the channels that are out there, might not be for you, and it's not really worthwhile for some of the shows that are out there. It's just old shows or some relatively new shows, and then of course there's YouTube as well too, which you can just watch on your phone or any device for that matter as well too. But um, I can say that what you as a consumer should start doing the math of like some of the stuff you're watching, and like, is it worthwhile now? Is it really necessary? I mean, if it's a case where, let's say you just really are using, let's say, Hulu or YouTube TV or Sling for that matter, just for like broadcast stuff of like, sports, live sports, you could probably just get that over the air with ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox. Now, for those on cable networks, like, like for me would be MSG or SNNY, or NBC Premium or USA Network for that matter, yeah, then you might have to use, let's say, ESPN Plus, and or Amazon, ESPN Plus, and or Peacock, and a little bit of Paramount as well too, because there are some sports that I will be displayed on there, but it doesn't really. Or for that matter, if you want to watch NFL, just go to the NFL app, or the MLB app, or the NFL, MLB, or NBA app, Season Pass. That's only if you're willing to pay for that stuff. Honestly, I don't like to pay for the NBA Pass. I mean, especially during finals and the playoffs, I'll rather watch it on broadcast TV anyways. It'll be interesting to see how the Super Bowl is played out, as well as the NFL with Amazon Prime, of course. I mean, they've gotten pretty crappy games basically, where the NFL is like, all right, you know what? Let's do ESPN, give them the better games, better matchups, and then give NFL, Amazon Prime, Thursday Night Football, the the okay ones, but not the key marquee matchups that they should be. And I think Amazon's now asking for that. Like, hey, we should be getting some like relatively key matchups, like let's say the Dallas Cowboys versus the Green Bay Packers, or the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Giants, or Philadelphia Eagles versus the Redskins, or Philadelphia Eagles versus the 49ers, etc. So it's one of those things I think one needs to be careful exactly what they're using and what they're paying for with the streaming services, because remember, you're still paying for cable. If you're using cable or Fios for that matter, whatever it may be, you're still paying for that internet service plus on top of wherever the streaming service. And if you do your math, you can look at it and realize like, look, compared to now versus let's say 20 years ago, you were paying for cable with internet for relatively a cheaper price than what it is now. Now, granted, you could have your selection of stuff, but the question is like, it's a matter of the content. That's what it comes down to. And like, if there's a way to get all the content together, paying for one thing similar to what cable is, it's great. But that's not happening. That's not going to happen, because Netflix is never going to do that. Amazon Prime is never going to do that. Apple Plus is never going to do that. HBO Max, they kind of do that with working with Amazon and Apple Plus, or on Verizon, whatever it may be. So we'll see. But in any case, and Disney Plus, as you saw, basically, where Disney's saying that their Disney Plus is losing money, so they're looking to probably sell that off, not only the content but the whole streaming service to another partner, basically, or another company, basically, so that they can take it off their hands. Maybe Apple, even though Apple's not going to look into it or is not interested in buying them out, but there might be others at that point as well too. Honestly, if I'm Paramount or Viacom, I make a play for it, but I think that would be a big mistake on Disney's part, basically, if they can just rein in on the costs for the content that they're creating. Because it's just like broadcast TV, broadcast network shows. You just gotta do it on a budget and get the right ones out there, basically, and like making sure that it's the right content that comes out. Because nowadays you're seeing Star Wars and Marvel fatigue a little bit. I mean, you just can't oversaturate too much. Now it's a matter of getting the right shows in place now at this point. Oh, like a Disney Plus. I mean, now you got Ahsoka. It's kind of highly anticipated, but at the same time, is it going to be a case where people are going to be a little bit fatigued, Star Wars fatigued, because Kenobi should have been a really great one, but they realized people weren't too enthusiastic about it. I mean, it didn't have the ratings as they expected it to be. So can Ahsoka bring them back in? We'll see. Only time will tell, basically. Similarly to any of the Marvel shows that are coming out in the Marvel movies. I mean, right now, DC is seeing that a lot of their superhero franchises, the DCU or DCEU, is pretty much not doing what it should be doing. It, and that's why they hired James Gunn, to basically come in and try to help revitalize the DCU universe. The MCU universe, it's hard to say. I mean, honestly, we'll have to wait and see with the next upcoming movies that are coming out, how well they fare. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 didn't do as great as I think it should have done, considering that they introduced Adam Warlock. And I'll do a review of that in another video, basically, of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Similarly to the other ones that are out there. I mean, I haven't watched Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the part 2, basically, or the second movie. I know there's going to be a third movie as a result of it. I've heard it was not really done well. I should have gone to the theater, but I was like, I might as well just wait for it to come out on digital and just watch it on digital. But I'm not going to pay for it. I'd rather wait for one of the streaming services to show me at that point. The Flash, surprisingly, Warner Brothers deciding, we're just going to hold off and just let it, like under your normal circumstances where they would give a 90-day type of thing. They're like, let's wait for 100. So like the anticipated release date for it is probably going to be in October or November, basically, which I don't know if that's the right call on their part, but I think it's more of a case because they're trying to anticipate for the writer's strike that they need to make sure that they stagger out all this content that they're releasing at this point. Like with Hulu Plus, they released out Solar Opposites. And I'll do another review of that as well too, season 4. And not too thrilled about it, honestly. The season 4, quite honestly. And similarly, I mean, there's The Witcher as well too. I haven't watched the last season of The Witcher. No, not the final season, but the last season, season 3. I haven't had time to watch it yet. I'm kind of waiting off on that so that I, binge watch it a little bit more than anything else. And then, of course, there's the other shows like Billions and such, and these are already made out to they're trying to follow the suit of a weekly release. I think people are trying to do that, but in any case, I'll leave it at that. But it's just a fair heads up to people, basically, what, these prices that are going up, I suggest you be not careful, but more of watch and do the math of seeing, are you paying more than what you were paying 20 years ago, if you were 20 years ago paying for cable. Even for that matter, maybe 12 years ago, for that matter, or 13 years ago. People were still using cable at that point in 2010. It's still a case where, the streaming services were just coming about, basically. And it was fairly cheaper then than now. So the question is what you're paying now versus what you were paying then. You could do the math and do the comparisons. But with that, I'll leave it at that. Please let me know in your comment section. Do you think you're gonna keep the cord cutting aspect of things, or maybe just essentially remove some of your streaming services you have if it's not being paid for, as not part of a bundle of some sort? Or two, do you think it's a case where like maybe there should be some sort of aggregator like cable, what cable was for these streaming services? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And of course, I do read my comments. I do respond to them when they warrant a response, and of course, when I also get notified about them as well too. But I do read them all when I get notified. And yeah, with that, I'll leave it at that. If you love my content, love my videos, love my channel, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And for those who have, I thank you for that. With that, I'll leave it at that. Unfiltered, unedited, and of course, unrehearsed. Until next time.